This is part 3 of the Chapter 11 lecture series on dividends. Let's get started. A dividend is a distribution of cash or stock to stockholders on a pro rata or proportional to ownership basis. Dividends are the means by which shareholders share in the profits of the corporation. Dividends are only paid on outstanding shares, so dividends are not paid on treasury stock. There are two types of dividends, cash dividends and stock dividends. We will focus on cash dividends. Cash dividends on common shares are typically expressed as a dollar amount per share, such as $1 per share. So to calculate the total dividend, you would multiply outstanding shares times the dollar amount per share. Cash dividends on preferred shares are typically expressed as the percent of the par value, such as 6% of par. So to calculate the total dividend, you would multiply outstanding shares times the par or stated value times the dividend percent. For a corporation to pay a cash dividend, it must have retained earnings, adequate cash, and the board of directors must declare a dividend. An important note is that a corporation is not legally required to pay a dividend until the board of directors declares one. However, once declared, the corporation is legally required to pay it. There are three important dates related to dividends. First, the declaration date is the date on which the board of directors declares the dividend. Again, the dividend becomes a legal obligation on this date. We would debit cash dividends and credit dividends payable to recognize the obligation to pay. Second, the record date determines which shareholders are entitled to receive the dividend. Whoever owns the stock on the record date is entitled to receive the dividend. Please note that there is no journal entry on the record date. Third, the payment is made on the payment date. We will debit dividends payable to remove the obligation from the books and credit cash. As I mentioned earlier, preferred shareholders have dividend preference over common shareholders. This means that the current year dividend, based on the percentage of par, must be paid to preferred shareholders before anything is paid to common shareholders. In addition to this advantage, some preferred stock is cumulative preferred stock, meaning that the corporation not only has to pay the current year dividend, but also must pay any prior year unpaid dividend to preferred holders before common holders get anything. These unpaid prior year dividends are called dividends in arrears. Stock dividends are pro rata distributions of the corporation's own stock. Essentially, the corporation is paying shareholders with additional shares of stock. It's important to note that the number of shares owned by each shareholder increases, but the percentage owned stays the same because the dividend is pro rata. This completes part 3 of the Chapter 11 lecture series on dividends. Have a great day.